Hey everybody, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Wint with ABC 45 News in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and this is my take on what we can expect this winter season. As we start out the winter season in December, I think we'll start to see some colder air moving in through the 1st of January. This year, I think we are going to see some temperature swings. We'll have some cold snaps and we'll have some warm snaps. So we may see some warmer air towards the middle of January, but towards the end of January into February, going into March, I do think we turn much colder and also more active. Overall, my winter weather forecast, I think we're going to see near to just slightly above normal temperatures. However, again, I think we will have periods of cold snaps and periods of warm snaps, but when you average all 3 months up, I think we're going to be near to just slightly above. I also think that we're probably going to see just a little bit below normal in the rainfall department, but that doesn't necessarily mean we won't see snow. In fact, I'm actually going with above normal snowfall for the immediate Piedmont Triad areas. We'll also have to watch out for maybe even an ice threat in parts of North Carolina. Now, this is the fun part of the forecast. Not a whole lot of science is given into this, maybe a little bit of wish casting on my part. Generally for the Triad, we see about 7 to near 8 inches of snow. Now, there's no one that can tell you exactly how much snowfall this far out we're going to see and exactly how cold we're going to be. So again, just a little bit of fun on my part. But I'm forecasting 7 to 10 inches overall this winter season, with our largest snowfall in one storm at about 7 inches. And I think we could have about our coldest temperature around 8 degrees. Now, a little bit of science going into this forecast here. Overall across the Carolinas, along and east of I-95, I actually think we're probably going to see below normal snowfall. For the Piedmont Triad areas and the Piedmont areas of North Carolina, near to above normal. And in the mountains, I actually think we have a pretty decent shot of above normal snowfall. So factors that I've been considering, what's actually driving this weather pattern? Weak La Nina. We've got a weak La Nina, and I'm giving that the thumbs up for some active weather. We got to consider climate change. Yes, we have been seeing some warming temperatures. So typically that wouldn't be a favor for us for cold and stormy. So I'm giving that a thumbs down. History does show in an active or a weak La Nina, we typically have had some pretty big snowstorms in the Piedmont Triad areas, and we're actually due for a decent snow. The polar vortex may become active, and of course the Siberian snow cover this year has actually been above normal, which typically brings in some colder air to the United States. So in a typical La Nina pattern, our jet stream stays to the north, allowing for storm systems to stay more towards the north and west, drawing in warmer air to the southeast, where we are a little bit more on the drier side. However, again, we are in a weak La Nina, so you can see starting from November, December, and January, we're in that La Nina pattern. But notice December, January, and February, we start to see the La Nina weakening and becoming more into a La Nada or a neutral phase. And then eventually by February, March, and April, it does appear that we will be taken over by more of that neutral phase. And I think this will have a big factor in our polar vortex and seeing a little bit more cold air along with some storminess. So what is the polar vortex to be exact? Well, basically it is just this large area of an upper level low, keeping all of the storm activity and the cold air right along the poles. Now, when the polar vortex is at its strongest, it keeps all the cold air at the poles. Now, when it weakens, the polar vortex does not move, as some people have suggested. This just basically allows for a waviness pattern in our jet stream, and we start to see some cold air getting dispersed. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get dispersed directly over the southeast. It may get directly dispersed towards central United States or elsewhere. But we do start to see a big dip or some waviness in our jet stream, and I think we're probably going to see that a few times this winter season. And the first shot of that potentially is going to happen towards the end of November into the beginning of December. We've got about a 30% chance of seeing at or just slightly below normal temperatures for that beginning part of December. Now, of course, there are a lot of social media hypists out there, and even some actual meteorologists that have started to kind of get on that hype train. So just remember the winter weather forecast. When it's 7 to 10 days out, we look at pattern recognition, okay? Anything beyond 10 days, you can just forget about it. It's more hype than anything. Once we get to the 5 to 7 day forecast, we start to see if the models are coming into agreement, and then 3 to 5 days out, that's when we have a better idea whether we are going to see snow, ice, sleet, anything like that, or just plain old rain. And then when we get to 1 to 3 days out, we start fine-tuning our forecasts, and of course we start looking at whether or not we're going to have snowfall, how much snowfall, and more of the timing as well. So that's my forecast for this winter season. Let me know what you would like to see across the Triad. And of course, if you have any winter weather photos that you would also like to share with us, we would love to see them. You can share those at weather@abc45.com. Also, make sure to check us out on all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, meteorologist Jonathan Wendt on all of those platforms as well.